In this tutorial, I'll show you guys how you can create your own skin tone LUTs or your own preset that you can be able to apply on images in the near future. So it is more of creating your own filter, if at all I can put that in simple terms, that you can be able to apply it on different images in the near future so that you can have some kind of uniform color grading in all your images in Photoshop. So we're going to be creating a 3D LUT, and LUT is more of a color lookup table, and LUT is derived from lookup table. That's why we call them LUTs. So we just want to create that preset that can help us to color grade faster with just a single click, and I'm going to be showing you guys how you can easily save that preset and later on apply it to your images in Photoshop. So I'm Ronix from Ronix Photography. Let's kick in and we start learning about this very wonderful tutorial. So when you're creating your LUT, always make sure that whichever adjustments you have been doing, you flatten your image, because that is going to be affecting your image. So always make sure, if at all you are doing frequency separation on the image, make sure you flatten the layers or you merge the layers. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to merge these layers. So in order to merge these layers, you can first of all come in Photoshop, then you can come to layer and scroll all the way down to merge visible, or you can use flatten image. So I'm just going to merge visible layers, and it has merged the layers for me right here. So what we're going to do, we're just going to do adjustments to this particular image, and we're just going to try to color grade them. So one reminder is, when you're creating those adjustments, make sure you don't put them in a group, because your LUT may not turn out to be as effective or effective at all. So you're just going to come and create adjustments. So you're just going to try to color grade this and later on save the adjustments and export them for future use. So I'm just going to come to black and white. I'm just going to come and change the blend mode to multiply and close this. I'm going to come to opacity and reduce it to around 30 is fine. So this is where we are right now. I'm going to come back right here. I'm going to create another black and white adjustment layer, but this time around leave the blend mode to normal and just reduce on the opacity. So I think 9% is fine. Then the next thing is going to be coming down here, and I'm going to come to my selective color, and under selective color I want to reduce on the reds or the magentas in this image. I'm just going to come to the magenta and I'm just going to reduce it slightly. Then I'm going to come to the black channel, and since I want to add that kind of blue tone or blue feel to the image, remember the opposite of yellow is blue. So when you move this yellow slider towards the negative side or the left hand side, you'll be introducing blues to the image. So I'm just going to introduce the blues, and I think that looks fine, and introduce some little bit of blacks to around 1, and that looks nice and beautiful. I'm going to simply close that. So the next thing I'm going to do right now is coming back to my black and white adjustment layer, and after doing that, what I'm going to do, I'm going to change the blend mode to multiply, and after reducing on its opacity, I'm just going to reduce it so I could come and brighten up the reds just like that, and this is going to make this really vibrant. You can see when I turn it down, I think I prefer to darken the reds even more. Then I'm going to come to the yellows and simply brighten them up just like that. So you can see what this has made or introduced the image. I'm going to come to the color balance right here. I'm going to introduce some kind of science to my highlights. So I'm just going to come to the highlights and just introduce the science to the highlights. Then come to my HSL panel or hue saturation option adjustment or adjustment layer. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to come to the reds. So when you click down here, you can see the red channel, and I'm going to reduce on the reds or reduce on the saturation of the reds in this image to around -11. That looks fine. Then I could as well, if at all you want, you can hue the reds depending on the look that you're trying to go in for. So I'm just going to hue those reds a little bit, and I'm going to come to the yellows and do the same. So I could as well intensify the yellows if at all that is the look I'm trying to go in for, but for this case I'm just going to reduce on the opacity of the yellows, and you could as well hue the yellows if at all you wish. So I'm just going to hue down the yellows just slightly, and this looks really nice and beautiful. So I could as well play around with the lightness of the yellows. So I'm just going to introduce some lightness to around 17, and I'm going to close this. So let's see what it has done to the image, and the image is now looking really nice and beautiful. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm going to save this as a preset or a LUT. And before we can save it, let's just add a little bit of contrast to this image. So come to the contrast and just introduce some tiny bit of contrast to this particular image to around, let's go with 6. So when you're doing these adjustments, always make sure that you push them to the extreme, because when you apply it on your images, you have the option of reducing the opacity. So after you have felt and applied those adjustments to your images and you're comfortable, it is the time to save your LUT. And in order to save it, you simply have to come to File, Export, and come to Color Lookup Table. So File, Export, and come to Color Lookup Table, and just hit on it. So you can now come and maybe let's save this as melanin trial, just like that. And I'm going to add a copyright, and always make sure that you save it as a cube, because cube loads faster in Photoshop. So make sure you choose this kind of format. Just check cube and hit OK. So we want to add a name for our LUT. So I'm just going to name it melanin trial LUT, and I'm going to save it to my desktop so that I can easily find it, and come and simply hit save, and it's going to take a few seconds and the LUT has been saved. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put this in a group because I want to show you guys the difference, if at all there could be any difference anyway. So I'm going to hit shift and select the lowermost layer, adjustment layer, and I'm going to hit Ctrl Command G on the keyboard so you can see a before and after for the color grading of this image. So what I want to do is showing you guys how you can import the LUT in Photoshop. So select the background layer and come to the adjustments and look for color lookup. So when you come to color lookup, come to load 3D LUT, and when you select this again, you have the LUTs, and look for a folder where your LUT has been saved. So for this case, we saved it as melanin. So you have to look for melanin. So melanin trial cube, and just select it and hit open. And here we are right now, and the image has just been color graded with just a single click of a button. So you can see the before after, and let's see what we did in the adjustments before after. There is no difference between the original initial adjustments that we had when we are creating the LUT and the LUT itself, meaning we have successfully created and saved this LUT, and this is definitely going to speed up your color grading process in Photoshop in the future. So if at all you feel like the effect is too much, you can come and reduce on the opacity of the LUT. So that's why I was telling you to push everything to the maximum when you're trying to create this or your presets or LUTs in Photoshop. This is all for today's tutorial, and if at all you have loved it, don't forget to like this video, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel if at all you have been watching and you have never subscribed to this channel. Ronix from Ronix Photography. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in yet more tutorials, and don't forget to keep practicing and keep creating.